I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time.
Welcome to Women Awakening. I'm your host, Cynthia James, and I'm excited every week that I get to introduce you to another extraordinary woman. And by extraordinary, what I mean is that these women have said yes to their life, yes to their passion, yes to their dreams, and they want to show us how to do exactly the same thing. So for me, that's exciting because I feel like me sharing these women is a part of my mission to be on this planet. So we do this every week. We're on Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, Spreaker. We're on YouTube video. Share the videos, subscribe, tell a lot of other women, because I guarantee you, there hasn't been one show, and I've done close to 250 of these, that there hasn't been an inspiring woman. So it's very wonderful. So today, I want to tell you too, go to cynthiajames.net. That's my website. You can join my private community or get my newsletter. So my guest today is Bianca Sprague. She is the founder of Bibo Mia, has been a dedicated educator, author, activist, and doula since 2007. Passionate about accessible pre- and postnatal care for marginalized communities, she advocates for mental wellness in families, drawing from her struggle with postpartum depression and family experiences. Bianca champions reproductive health and justice, focusing on breaking down barriers for female and queer entrepreneurs and restoring joy, equity, and safety in family care through her expertise and innovative approaches. Well, all right, Bianca, thank you so much for being here. I got so many questions.
I'm just honored to be part of these 250 women because they're all pretty great.
Yeah, they really are. Okay, tell me how you grew up. Where did you come from?
Well, I grew up on the west coast of Canada in Vancouver. And then, I actually grew up real weird, Cynthia. I had kind of like hippie yuppie parents. So we were like homeschooled, illegal home births, vegan, made our clothes. And then I fled to Toronto when I was just after university, so 24 or so. And now I'm on the east coast of Canada. So I'm like 3, 4, 5,000 miles away from where I started.
Well, and so growing up in this kind of unique family, how did you feel?
Yeah. Well, my family of origin is pretty complicated for me, but there was things that I really valued about how I was raised. I was really grateful for a house that focused on, our emotions and nonviolent communication and unpacking the patriarchy. And, it was my first foray as being a member of dominant culture for a lot of my intersections. And, knowing that there was an injustice around there. So it really I connected to my justice is a really high value for me. And my dad was a lawyer, but really tried to bring justice to a justiceless system and was really honest about that. And so, between that and seeing what's possible, that you don't have to always do exactly what is expected, my parents very quickly became more like yuppie yuppies as they had upward mobility, but I had left the house by that time. And so it really kicked me off on breaking down the systems that just don't serve us. I also abandoned the rules of staying with your family of origin. So I've left my family of origin, which is another system.
Right.
So I did take a lot of great things from it, but I went off on my little queer way, far away from them.
Well, and here's the thing. When did you discover your preference, and were they okay with it?
Yeah, I mean, we were really active in the queer community in Vancouver. My uncle came out when I was a kid, and when he came out, he also disclosed his status. So we were really active in the HIV and AIDS community, and this was at a time when it was way more of a death sentence. So we were really protesting and trying to get rights for Canadian men with our medical system, and just the homophobia in our world. So I didn't actually really, I found it really hard to connect as far as my sexuality because I spent a lot of time around gay men. And gay men, a lot of the time gay women become like a gay men punchline because lesbians are like not fun, they're not pretty, they like suck the joy out of everything, they bring hummus and Birkenstocks, like all these tropes. And so I really struggled being like, okay, but I don't know where I fit because I'm pretty fabulous. and and the media at the time, you know, this was 25, 30 years ago, they didn't have, there wasn't beautiful lesbian, they didn't show lesbians anything unless they were like Katie Lang.
Right.
um and so it took me a while, so I actually came out in college, and then I felt a little bit like weird and embarrassed, like I had a really tough time sliding into my skin. And then I went back in the closet and ended up having a baby with somebody. But like literally as my daughter was born, I was like, oh, I'm very gay, and really found my voice by the time I was in my mid 20s. And I sailed off on my very gay life after that. But my parents, well, my dad's dead now, but I found my family of origin. I mean, they're not here to really defend themselves, but they didn't realize the microaggressions because they continued on kind of the punchline of lesbianism. And so it stopped serving me. Like it was at first funny, and then it got to the place where I was like, and my daughter's mixed race, and so like there was just a lot of dancing we had to do to like teach people about the isms that happen.
Yes. Oh
And
my
they were less
goodness.
interested in unpacking that. Like there was kind of the novelty of their like black granddaughter slash niece and queer daughter slash sister. So we've had no contact for a significant or many years.
Well,
Um,
well,
yeah.
first of all, bravo for you for knowing you're fabulous and not
Thank you.
allowing and not allowing other people to define you. So that's, that's the first thing. But I want to talk about this postpartum because it led you into what you're doing now, but how are you able to get support? Did you know what you were experiencing?
Oh man, it was terrible. So, um, having my daughter Gray transformed me. And I know people say like I'm a different person, but it like it ignited, it like lit up everything that I needed for my awakening. And it was such a profound experience when I came home from the hospital. So like we were talking like hours after, not like eventually into my motherhood journey. Like I was like I'm raging. I've been transformed. I had to fight so hard to have an unmedicated birth. I had to fight so hard to keep people from like violating me, obstetric violence, and I didn't realize the depth of domestic violence that I was living in because I could manage it on my own. But now that I was somewhat dependent with a dependent, I was like, oh no, this is not going to work for me. And so, this rage and this like problem solving started coming, like I just kept feeling like no, I can't believe people have a baby and feel like this. I can't believe how alone I am. Nobody's here. Nobody's helping. I was under resourced. Like it was like the worst conditions to have a baby in. And I knew that I needed to solve this first for me. And then through doing that, I started this movement. But honestly, if you had asked me, how old was I when Gray was born? 26, pacing around a kitchen, like I would have never imagined that I was about to start a global movement. Like I have students in 49 countries. Like we're completely transforming birth and creating both jobs, and those jobs are protecting the next generation of families. Like I had no idea. I just kept thinking, this is terrible for me. I feel really alone. Nobody's helping. I should probably help somebody else and like see if anyone else feels like that. And it was like just one step in front of the other. And then each layer of problem that I solved, like, okay, great. Now we've gathered a few people that feel like this. And now like, what's the next thing we're going to do? And every layer was such a profound transformation for me. Like, that's why I was so excited to be on your podcast, because this, like, I can like track this awakening from who Bianca was in 2007 to who I am now. And it's been just such a profound journey through this work and my activism and my family, and unlearning this suffering that comes with these systems. All of them, our justice system, our medical system, our familial system. organized religion as it is, like all of these things, and just like smashing the heck out of it. It's been
Well,
a trip.
yeah, so inspiring though. I mean, that you could take your pain and transform it into a passion for yourself and for others. I mean, that's extraordinary. I want to know for our audience, what's a doula?
Oh, great question. So a doula, or you might hear the term birth worker. I use those interchangeably, and it's somebody who goes through whatever stage you're at. So there's fertility doulas, there's birth doulas, there's postpartum doulas, there's death doulas, there's stillbirth doulas. So whatever their specialty is, and they go in to really protect and advocate for their clients and make sure their client is well supported informationally, physically, and emotionally. But most importantly, when we're talking about reproductive health and justice, a doula takes it from practice-based care, which is just like everybody goes in the hospital. There's a one size fits none plan for everybody. The pediatricians give the same script to every parent sitting there, regardless of like, it's not going to, again, it's a one size fits none. And so a doula is there to bring back evidence-based care. So the only thing we look at is what's the World Health Organization saying? What's the UN saying? What's the governing bodies for obstetrics and gynecology saying? What is the governing bodies for pediatricians saying? And because ironically, these are supposed to be the guides for these practitioners that we're trusting with these really, precarious, emotional filled, can be risky times, and they're not following their own guidelines. And so doulas before used to kind of be this like, it was a wave of people being more invested in their births, like through the 70s and 80s. But now we actually are saving lives by being in that space, because the US has the worst birth and baby outcomes in any other high GNP country, the worst in the world. And it's the worst that it's ever been in modern history. And it's getting worse year over year.
Well,
And
yeah, and
so,
then we keep taking the rights away from women. So,
oh,
so
like, don't
thank
even
God
get me
there's
started.
doulas and people who
Yeah.
care. I mean, so yeah, don't
Yeah.
I'd be on that soapbox with you. So,
Oh yeah. You and
yeah.
me, Cynthia, girl, we'll be linking arms just like with our megaphones, because like bad stuff happens to people walking in the hospital, but we've normalized it. Like we're just like, oh yeah. Like I ask people how their birth went, the typical story is like, oh well, my doctor wanted to induce me, so we went in, and then the cervical tabs didn't work, and so then they broke my water, and then they started pit, but then I had to get the epidural, but it only worked on half my body, and they keep going until they've like had a forceps and they've been in the OR and like all of these things. Again, nothing about any of these things are bad and wrong. They're all tools available to every person, but they're being done on everybody. But we call that a normal birth. We're like, yeah, I got induced. I had all these things. Maybe it was a pelvic birth or a vaginal delivery. Maybe it was a belly birth or an operative birth or a C-section. And 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 we're leaving traumatized. And how this ties back to this awakening is it hit me that the system is breaking us. Like we call it a broken system. It's not, it's a perfectly designed system that's breaking us. And it's breaking us at these like such incredible awakening moments. Birth is one of the most incredible awakening moments. Like I've been talking about birth most of my adult life, and I still like get covered in goosebumps. I feel like so moved just thinking about these moments. And I've had the pleasure of witnessing like hundreds of these like transformations for people. And if you break us at that time, we now go into parenting feeling like our bodies failed us. We couldn't do this very first thing of just getting our baby out. Like the language we use, failure to progress, is the number one reason for a C-section. Like failure to progress. Like that's how we talk about our bodies. Their failure to breastfeed, failure. Like we use these words. And so we now have this traumatized group going into their parenting journeys, which is like the intensive mothering model is a whole other talk I could do about like how we're policed and what we were expected to do. Um, but I believe that if we can protect birth and if people can go in feeling powerful, autonomous, knowing the care they're getting is evidence-based and having an advocate with them, that we can actually have like this awakening movement. We can have this transformation because once you've had that experience of like seeing how powerful you are, I promise you're less swayable about beauty standards, about political representation, about not understanding your taxes. Like you're like, no, did you see what I just did in there? Like, don't try to pull this patriarchy crap with me. And I know this is how we can do a significant amount of healing on the planet, especially for women and queer folks, is
Yeah.
by protecting birth again. And that's what doulas do.
Yeah,
Long answer.
but no, but it was good. And here's the thing. I mean, when you were talking about, you know, our track record in this country with women and women of color, you know,
Yes.
it's even worse. And so, but I want to know. So let's say I'm pregnant, and or I find out I'm pregnant. How do I select the doula? I mean, how do I know? Because there's different doulas that do different things. How do I
Yeah.
find my doula?
Well, you would, I mean, obviously, if you're having a long trying to conceive journey, you'd get a fertility doula. But now you're pregnant, huzzah! If this is a good thing, if this is good news for you, huzzah! And so you would look up birth doulas, and because we know the research on how profound and beneficial doulas are in the space, we have now mountains of research. Your country, I'm Canadian, so I'm going to say your country, but both of our countries are, but we have free medical here, so it's different. But your country is snapping to attention. So TRICARE covers doulas. That's for military families. Medicaid covers doulas for, I'd say 58% of states right now, and more are added. They just like the program takes a lot to roll out. There's hospital programs that cover them. There's social programs that provide free doulas. Plus, there's paid doulas. So, y'all, if you are resourced, please go keep that money in feminist flow and hire a doula and pay her a living wage. But if you are under resourced and you would have a barrier to access, there's so many ways now, and most insurance plans cover them. And it's great because doulas are getting paid and folks are getting care. And so you would Google and find all the options available. Again, there's something available for no, low, and high income folks. And then you would see what kind of questions you would want in somebody. So you might have religious-based needs that you have, language-based needs. There's doulas that can meet specific needs. So if you live in a fat body or a plus size body, whichever language feels better, there's folks that can guide you through the hospital system safely, knowing that it's riddled with anti-fat bias.
Yes.
And your birth plan can completely change if you live in a big body, and most of it is medical coercion. And I'm not even being like tinfoil hat, like all this like conspiracy stuff. It is proven. The research is there, the stats are there. And so, you might have a poly family, so there's 3 or more parents, in which case there's doulas that specialize in how are you going to go through. There's lots of specifically like for any kind of segment of the racialized community, queer community, folks that support teens specifically. So like you would know what your needs are, and then you would go find a doula that is a specialty. We have a business school so I teach doulas, and then I have a business school that teach them how to do this. And by the end of it, I'm like, you have to go have your niche so that people can say like, I'm having a VBAC, and that's a vaginal birth after a cesarean section. And so there's VBAC doulas because the needs are very specific and the tests are different and the process is different. And so they've become experts in those fields. So yeah, you would Google, and then I always say meet a couple people because it's a really intimate time. And
Yeah.
I think it's not every doula is for every person. And you'll just like click with somebody, and then the doula will kick you off on your care cycle, whatever that looks like for their practice. And then you have this unwavering support that's they're there continuously. And I call it like Wikipedia and your best friend all wrapped together, because you could say like, what is this weird discharge? Or like, this hurts. Is that normal? Or like, I don't actually want to feed from my body and my family's pressuring me. How do I talk to them when I want to use formula? I don't want to feed human milk. And like, we can help you navigate through those kinds of conversations. So really like anything to do with that time, you have somebody that's like a true cheerleader, which is hard because everybody has advice and thinks you should raise your children or birth in a certain way. And to have somebody that's like, what do you want to do? It's pretty refreshing.
Yeah, I have 2 friends in Los Angeles, lesbian women who actually had been married to men and then found each other, and then
Good for them.
decided to have a child, right?
Yeah.
And so their their having a doula support them through that process was game changer, and their child is healthy and vibrant and vital, and I have a granddaughter who's had 2 C-sections because of the system that you're talking about,
Yeah.
and really hard, really
Yeah.
hard for her, right? So I want to
Yeah.
know how do people find you and your work, and if they wanted to become a doula, how do they find you?
Well, yeah, you can find us on our website. So it's Bebomia, BEBOMIA.com. And we've actually made a webpage for your listeners. So if you go to /awakening, we have a discount code there for you and lots of fun information. And you kind of like kicks you off into our community. We're also really active on Facebook and Instagram. There's lots of paid and low cost and regular price things that you can check out there, and we would love to have you come explore. We have a quiz actually on the site that I've made for your listeners. So you can be like, do I want to be a doula? And then you can take the quiz.
Well, I'm so excited that you're doing this and that you're training other people to do this, and educating women about their possibilities. Because if you're just in the little bubble, then you don't know anything else. You don't have any other information. And so it's exciting. So I ask the same question at the end of the show to every guest. The show is called Women Awakening. Why do you think women awakening on the planet in this moment is essential?
We have to smash these systems that police our bodies and our time and our beauty and our food and our politics and our parenting and our money, and we have to just remember ourselves as these like really powerful and autonomous beings. And a final note on that, it's lonely when you start breaking free of these systems. And I promise you all, it's more uncomfortable suffering within those systems alongside everyone else than it is to be like the only who's determined to smash the patriarchy. But it's a critical time, and I think it's a good time for this movement.
Yeah, and community matters. It's important. And so I love your passion and I love your energy. And I'm so grateful you came to talk about this, because I think women need to know, how do we stand up for ourselves and our bodies?
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for having me, Cynthia. I love your pod.
Okay, thank you. All right, ladies, listen, if you're like me, you're not of birthing age. However, if you have someone in your family, know someone, people who want to change the system, please check out this website, check out Bianca, find out what doulas do, see if you want to be a doula. This is what I know. Women are on this planet in this moment because there is a deep and profound need for our nurturing, our care, and our brilliance. So stand up in who you are, learn what you need to do, and then make a difference. I love you, and I'll see you next time.